date is February 18th, 2015. The location is the home of Greg Sebring. The time is 1 p.m. Today, the person being interviewed is Mahlon Sebring. Mahlon was born on July 9th, 1924, and he served in the U.S. Army during World War II. The interview will be conducted by Jeff Hoffman. The interview is being conducted on behalf of the Oral History Project at the Yankee Air Museum in Bellevue, Michigan. Good afternoon, Mahlon.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell me where you were born in 1924?
Southwest of Blissfield.
Southwest of Blissfield?
Southwest of Blissfield.
Is that very close to?
About 17, 18 miles south of here.
Okay. Well, who were your parents and what did they do?
Farmers.
Okay.
I was the last child born, and my folks was quite old. My dad was in his 50s, I guess, when I was born. But
did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had 2 brothers and 1 sister. My oldest brother was 20 years older than me, and my sister was 14 years older than me, and my other brother was 8 years older, so I was the last one.
Did any of them serve in the military?
My brother did, the one that was 8 years older than me.
Okay, let's talk about what you were doing before you entered service. Where did you go to high school?
I went to high school there in Tecumseh, Michigan, but I quit high school and went to the service, and I finished high school when after I was discharged.
But while you were in high school, isn't that when you had your first job at the Willow bomber plant?
Yes, and I started out in high school working at Bugs and Harry's garage. I worked there for $12 a week, and the reason I worked for $12 a week is to learn to be a mechanic.
Oh, so you had that skill.
So through life, when I'd buy a car from a dealer, he'd never see the car again. I'd done all the mechanical work on it until I got rid of it.
So when did you start work at the bomber plant in Willow Run? In 1943 or so? Something like that?
No, it was 42, I think.
Oh, all right, when it started then. And did you work full-time there, day shift, or how many hours did you work?
I worked, when I first hired in, they put me on the tail section, where we built the double tail fins, you know. And as soon as I got to where I could do the job, I asked the supervisor, I said, I would like to get on final assembly. I said, that's my wishes. And he got me on final assembly finally, but I worked a month days and a month nights.
Okay. The tail section, was that where you were using those shears that
Yes.
cut aluminum? Was that kind of dangerous? I mean, that was kind of really sharp metal, wasn't it?
Well, after you do it for 8 hours, you go out, grab hold of your steering wheel, and you don't know whether you can drive home or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So did you get any specific training for these jobs, or they just put you on the line and then you did what other people
You
were
learn
doing?
as you go.
Okay. And so you had another job on the main fuselage?
I got on hydraulics,
Okay.
where I installed hydraulic pumps. And the hydraulic pumps runs the flaps, runs the wheels, runs a lot of the gun turrets.
So you're really involved in the actual production of the main part of the plane?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like it was very physically demanding work.
No, I enjoyed it for one reason. It was very interesting work and very clean. If I drill through whatever I was working on, drill a hole and shavings go on the floor, there was a sweeper back of me sweeping it up right away.
Oh, yeah.
And I had an inspector that stayed with me printer all the time, because anything I would do, put in lines, hydraulic lines and stuff, the hydraulic lines, they had clamps that the same shape of tubes. They might be 4 tubes to this clamp, all different sizes, and they was cork something. I don't know what other than cork. The cork fit all the tubes size-wise, and then there was aluminum cover on each side, and along with a strip of foil that went around the tubes that they had to check with a meter to see that it was grounded properly, you know.
Oh, okay. So did the line move, or did your section of the line move very fast? Was there quite a lot of pressure to?
When I got on final assembly, the plane moved every hour.
Okay, so you knew you kind of had a time limit.
Yeah. We had an hour to get our work done. It didn't always happen, but you get up to the next station, and the supervisor of that station would get on your fanny, and you didn't like him, so you hurry.
So where did you live, and how did you commute to work?
I lived here in Tecumseh, or with my folks just out towards Macon. It's about 4 or 5 miles out of town, and I drove back and forth. And I had an A. Everybody had an A.
Oh, the card, the pass?
Card, and
yeah.
Farmers and a few people could get B books, but the company gave me C books. I had all the gasoline I wanted.
Oh, okay.
And I drove back and forth from here to the bomber
So
plant.
these are the ration
Yep.
books, okay. Were there many other men your age, like in 17, 18, 19 years old? Or that?
Most of them was older than me
Okay.
at the time, and we would team up when I was on, say, day shift, I could have riders, but when I changed to night shift, they didn't change, so I wouldn't have riders. So
Oh, you're by yourself.
I had to trade cars because my tires was going bad, and I got
the rubber ration.
some used tires from my barber. His wife had a wreck, and he parted his car out in parts, and I bought a couple of used tires from him. And when them was gone, I went after tires again, and they said, well, you don't have riders 100% of the time, we can't give you tires. So I went down to Toledo looking for a car, and I found a 41 Ford V8 business coupe that a guy that ran a Ohio station down there was going to the service, and he sold his car to this lot, and he had Cyberlink 6-ply tires on it. And I said, I'll buy it just for the damn tires.
What a time.
Hey, you just don't think about that, going to work and having all these constraints because of the war on.
And when I went to service, I left it with my girlfriend, her and her folks, and she had some of them tires recapped 2 or 3 times because they were 6-ply. They would still would accept a recap. Because when I come home on furlough, I went up to see my uncle in Blissfield, and I was driving about 50 or 60, and the wife says, or girlfriend says, you know, you got recap tires.
Yeah, I was going to say, on those tires.
And
In
so
1940.
Yeah.
and I think the speed limit then was something like 35 or else 45.
Probably for a good reason. Were there many Rosies? Did you know many Rosies in the plant? Because you know the Rosies get so much attention when you talk about Willow Run.
I didn't know any of them. I actually watched them do it up in center wing. That's where you used. That was very noisy in center wing because some of them people are driving 1/4-inch rivets, and a lot of the rivets were kept in a deep freeze. So they was, so when you put it in and riveted it, when that rivet had come back to room temperature, it was a stronger joint.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Which surprised me because I never had any idea. I said, why the hell do they keep them in a deep freeze?
Yeah.
And
Then you saw it, yeah.
the supervisor told me.
So while you're Willow Run, obviously there was a draft going on and things like that, and you were entitled to deferments. So when the draft was aimed at you, what did you do?
I told him I got my orders to report, and he said, well, we can get you 3 deferments, 6 months deferments. That's a 1.5 years. And I said, I don't want them. I said, if the war ain't over then, I'd have to go.
Yeah.
And I said, if I gotta go, I might as well go now and get it over with.
I must have a tough choice, though.
So I didn't tell my folks that because my mother wrote the president because we had a couple cows that my dad couldn't milk, so they just kicked the heck out of him.
Did you say your mother wrote the president?
Yes.
Is that what it?
It's a letter up there.
Oh.
She wrote
I'll have to make a copy of that. you went to
And he
President
said,
Roosevelt?
we'll take it under advisement. Nothing ever happened from it, but
Because you were going in the Army?
I didn't push it on from my end, but she might have, but I didn't.
So what branch of service did you go in?
Well, I ended up in artillery.
Well, in the Army, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what, this was September of 43? Was that when you were actually
Yes.
drafted? So where did you go for your induction?
Battle Creek.
Is that Fort Custer?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that was induction. So where did you go for basic training?
Fort Bragg. They come in one day and they said, fall out. And I had a fever like you wouldn't believe. I sore throat and fever. In fact, I got on the train, and the only reason I got to go is because before I went out there, I put 5 sticks of gum in my mouth. I had a cut of gum about that big, and he couldn't see my throat, so he thought I was okay.
Yeah.
And I passed out on the train from a high fever, and we got into Detroit, and
So this is on the way to Fort Bragg?
yeah.
Okay.
And someone went and told the acting corporal that was taking us through that he came out there and opened up a case and he gave me 6 pills. 2 cold pills, 2 sulfur pills, and 2 something else.
Unlabeled.
And I said, oh, these ain't gonna stay down. So I heads out outdoors and I found a little sign that said taxi stop. I wrapped an arm around that, and a woman and her daughter was coming down the sidewalk, and she says, oh, look at that poor soldier boy, he's so sick. I thought, lady, you don't have any idea how sick I am. But she says, you gotta go to the doctor. And I said, I can't leave here. I said, you'll have to talk to the guy that's taking us through. So she went in and found him, brought him out. She says, this man's got to go to the dispensary. He says, I don't know where there's a dispensary. And she says, I do. She says, it's on the 12th floor of the Buell building.
Oh, in Detroit, yeah.
And she took me up there, and the captain checked me out. He says, he's got to go to Fort Wayne. And I thought, Fort Wayne? The only Fort Wayne I know is Indiana. I don't want to go to Indiana. But evidently there's a section in Detroit that's called Fort Wayne or something that I didn't know about.
Yeah. So,
And then I got a hold of my girlfriend and told her I was in the hospital, so she came down to see me. And a day or two, captain was taking good care of me, and he come and I started feeling better, and he says, how do you feel? And I said, I feel good. He says, what would you like to eat? And I said, well, what I would like and what I'll get is 2 different things. And he says, well, what would you like? And I said, I'd like a steak. He said, would you like a steak? And I said, yeah. And he got me a nice big steak, and I was sitting there eating it, and a big old fat bird colonel come walking through, and he said, what a hell of a meal for a sick man.
better than a lot of gum.
And I think my captain got it calling down real good.
Well, you still got the steak.
But I had the steak. But then when I left, they put me on a train to Fort Bragg, and they put me on a Pullman. And my partner was a bird colonel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know how to act around an officer. I hadn't been in the Army 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He says, you get the top bunk, I get the lower bunk.
Oh, rank has its privilege. So you're going through training right there. So what happened when you got to Fort Bragg?
They put me in jail.
Yeah.
Because when the troops went through, 2 of them went AWOL, and they thought I was one of the AWOLs finally coming back.
What an introduction to.
But it didn't last long. I started raising heck, and
Yeah, but no more states, right?
they started checking up. They found out that I wasn't.
Oh. So.
But I was about a week or 2 behind the troops, and they asked me different parts of the artillery piece, and first thing I called it a cannon, and he says it's a field piece, and if you didn't know the answer, you had to pick up a 95-pound projectile and walk around 6 artillery pieces, which is about a city block, in sand a foot deep. Boy, that'll get you puffing.
My gosh, 95 pounds. So how long were you at Fort Bragg for the training? How long did that last?
I think it was 14 weeks.
Okay. And this is in now 1943, right?
Yes.
Okay, because you were at the plant for a while, so this is...
I finished up in the middle of February, and they gave me a 12-day furlough.
Oh, okay. So during the 17 weeks, did you have, was that basic training, or did you get any specialized training?
No specialized, just basic training. Well, I think they worked ATI into it. Now you get basic training, and then they have what they call ATI, which is
Advanced something.
more of a specialized training.
So when did you first encounter the artillery training and then the glider experience? When did that occur during these 17 weeks?
In England.
Oh, you didn't really get any glider
I didn't
training?
get glider training here. I wasn't in gliders.
Oh, okay. So you didn't get your glider wings then until you went. Oh, okay. Okay. So then, following the boot camp, and then you went on quite a long journey to travel overseas, didn't you?
Yes.
To Fort Bragg.
And I'll say this: the only fear I had was getting sunk in the ocean. I said the country has given me very good training. Let me get over there and do what I can do, and rather than go in the bottom of the ocean. But we had air cover all the way. They started out.
But even the way you got, didn't you have to go to all these different destinations before you actually left the country?
Well, I went to Fort Meade, Maryland. I don't know how many weeks I was there, but then from there we went to Boston and got on a ship or overseas.
And we went to Liverpool or someplace.
We had air cover all the way. They started out with PBYs, which was a plane that could land on water. When they got too far for them, then they went over. They took over with blimps. When they got halfway, they met us with blimps from the other side until we got into where the PBYs again could take over.
Oh, okay.
So we had air cover all the way, and they only turned us around once. They spotted something up in front. They never told us it was a sub, but I don't know what other reason they would turn us around.
So what was the base in England that you were stationed at? Was it Leicester or something?
It wasn't no name to it. It was just Paps Hall.
Oh, but it was near Leicester.
Yeah, Lancaster.
Yeah. Lancaster or Leicester?
Leicester.
Leicester. That's probably the English pronunciation.
It's pronounced Leicester, but it's when you see it, it looks like it's Leicester or something.
So this is in early '44. So this is when you started the glider artillery training, or training with artillery pieces for glider.
Yeah.
Okay. And then were you actually in the 82nd Airborne in the 319th
Yes.
Battalion at that point?
Yes.
In the A Battery. Okay. So what were some of the training exercises prior to D-Day like in England?
Well, they would take us out at night, and we would come ashore, wading ashore in water 2-3 foot deep, like getting us used to. So
Sort
if
of
we
simulate the landing.
would go in, say, seaborne into Normandy, and we was out there training one night, and the Germans come over and they slaughtered a bunch of us.
Also, some of these bases were targets for the Luftwaffe.
So, well, the German subs sank troop ships in the channel that were training.
Oh, when you were actually doing the water-based training. I see. Okay.
Yeah, they come over one night. I don't know. We sent men over to France every night too. Back then, I think they called them commandos, but there was another group too that would go over and stay for a week and then come back and report how strong they was in the area and stuff. And they was called jet burros or something.
Yeah, jet burros.
So they were doing surveillance?
Pardon?
They were doing surveillance? They were
Yes.
going across the channel and doing
Yes.
surveillance, coming back, and this is
Yeah.
all preparatory to the...
Yeah, they was going back and forth both sides.
So in the artillery unit, you were in the glider artillery unit, did you work with those M3 snub-nose howitzers, or was that what you were trained on? In the gun crews?
They was 75 millimeter. They was compared to what I took.
Oh,
my
the pack howitzers, those
Yeah.
75, yeah.
Compared to what I took my training on, they looked like toys.
Yeah, they were little 75 millimeter, yeah.
In fact, they didn't even have rubber tires on them yet. They had wooden wheels on them.
My goodness. They were shipped that way then?
Well, I never, when we get them, they'd have rubber tires on, but being wherever they were stored, or they hadn't been
Converted? Oh, okay.
converted over to modern times.
So what was your assignment in the gun section?
Well, I didn't have any particular assignment. You done every job on the howitzer.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 10 guys to a howitzer.
So you could replace anybody?
And wherever someone wasn't there, you took over.
So what were some of those jobs?
Well, number one man, he run the lanyard. He fired the weapon,
Okay.
but he wasn't supposed to fire it till the gunner took his eyes off from the sight, because the thing jumps in the air a couple feet, you know, and
Yep.
there's a rubber accordion rubber on the sight, but you'd still that sight would go into your eye and
So you
do a lot of
have
damage.
to wait for a clearer and then,
When he'd say his position was okay, why then the guy on the lanyard could pull it. And number 5 man was he'd work the trail, and the way he worked the trail was the guy watching the sight would he'd just use hand signals, left or right, and the guy would after he's done it a little bit, he'd know go 2 or 3 inches or a foot,
oh, I see.
depending on how the guy was waving his hand, you know. And you have 2 aiming stakes, and you probably say, well, what do you do at night? Well, there was a flashlight on these, with a hood on the flashlight, but that both stakes had flashlights. Someone had to run out there and turn those lights on. So when he looked through his sight, he wouldn't see 2 flashlights, he'd just see 1
Oh, I see. Okay.
when he was on target.
So that's how you were trying to judge your accuracy, things like that. Run the training exercises. Okay.
Yes.
So, were you using the British gliders, the horses, or were you using those CG-4A American gliders? In the 319?
Trained with American, but when I went in Normandy, we used horses.
Because they were
British glider.
bigger and could carry more men or more
Yeah.
more guns or more jeeps or whatever or trucks.
Yeah, and that's a bad deal, because they have to land at 190 miles an hour, and ours land at 160 or up to 190.
Well, what were they towed by? Were they towed by like 47?
C-47s.
Okay. So what was it? I thought it was like 150 miles an hour. They were towed faster than that?
Well, the American gliders are redlined at I think 160.
Okay.
But going into Holland, just a few miles before we cut loose, they just had the air full of every kind of weapon they had, I guess, because it was just black blotches all over the place, and the guys in the tow plane they got a heck of a job to do, and they pulled the old throttle back, and pretty soon our plane just started.
Oh.
They just shook it apart. But the glider pilot, he says, call them up and tell them to slow it up. So I had
So there
the
was turbulence.
earphones on and the mic on
The
me.
turbulence from the wash of the
Too
truck?
fast.
Or just the speed?
The speed.
Okay.
And I called them up and I said, slow that thing up here, about ready to pull this thing apart. And they said, if you're coming with us, hang on. So it didn't do any good to call them.
So how much equipment could you get? So on these horses that you used for the Normandy invasion, how many men or how many jeeps or how many howitzers could you get on those things?
Well, American gliders gets a jeep and about 4 or 5 men.
Well, that's all?
American glider was just troops is about 15.
Oh, well, just all men 15, but with equipment? Okay.
But with equipment, you either have a jeep or you have a howitzer or you have a trailer loaded with equipment. These are pretty good sized trailers, and depending what you got, depends. Like the jeep, you've got probably 3 or 4 men plus a jeep, and when I say 3 or 4 men, that includes pilot and co-pilot and maybe 2 or 3 other men.
Okay.
And
So,
you have a lot of gasoline in 5-gallon cans, which you have to worry about.
oh yeah.
they're shooting tracer bullets up at you, which would set it on fire. And
What a target. So describe to me the invasion, your artillery units and participation in invasion.
well,
Obviously you had a landing zone you were shooting for, but you had to take off and get towed from that base in England over the channel.
it's crazy because you're landing on a postage stamp.
Yeah. So
And-
the landing zone looks good on a map, but in reality it's...
And you've got 100 or more gliders landing at the same damn time.
in a formation, or they're just...
Well, whoever gets there first.
Yeah, okay. Did these horses tend to crash and break up a lot?
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, you get in, you strap yourself to a seat, and they tell you to slow it up, go between two trees and shear the wings off. That'll slow you up. Well, it's a heck of a jolt too.
Well, they landed at night too.
yeah, well, I was just going to say, I mean, were these landings during the nighttime or daytime? They were nighttime.
Nighttime in
this particular
Normandy.
case. Normandy, yeah.
And yeah, it was supposed to fly in formation.
Yep.
Well, I don't know of anyone banging each other up in the air, but you're only a few feet apart. But
So did you make your landing zone W for the D-Day invasion? Was that landing zone W was your target area, right?
yeah, right there. It, you when you cut loose, you don't know, you can't see it.
Right.
When you come down, you don't know whether there's trees, stumps, stones, or whatever. But
So then the
His glider broke apart.
right, yeah, the horses broke apart.
oh yeah,
Yeah, they just
You could-
collapsed.
you could break apart, and you might have a sheet of plywood
Oh,
where you was buckled to a sheet of plywood sliding down the road about 60, 70 miles an hour. Didn't have much hide when you got done, but a few days you was the biggest scab in the world.
so the landing zone W was, I assume, strategic for taking a French town. So what happened? Your unit actually did free a French town.
Yeah, we liberated St. Mary Église. That was what we were supposed to assemble.
So that was a successful mission then, because you freed that French town. I believe your unit was cited for that, right?
Yes,
What did they receive?
we got the Presidential Unit Citation, which it's a medal, but
Well, that's pretty noteworthy. I mean, it's the 319th got several of those citations, didn't they?
we was the most decorated artillery battery in Europe. There was times we had hand-to-hand combat.
Oh, okay. Just like
When we
infantry.
went into Holland, we landed right on top of the German army.
Yeah,
Come right in on top of them.
yeah.
They were just retaking their landing zone because the paratroopers go in a few hours before you do, or maybe a half a day or a day. And they had left the drop zone to go to get their objective, and then we come in the next day, and when they left, the Germans come back and took the landing zone again. So General Gavin, he thought he looked at his watch, and he knew when we were going to come in, and
General Gavin, who was
he
running
was
the
just in the
airborne.
process of retaking the landing zone when we come in. He says, "My God, they're going to land right on top of the German army."
Well, back to Normandy, once you landed in France and the St. Mary Église was freed, how long did you stay in France?
30 some days. I don't know, about 33 days, I think.
And what happened after that? Did you regroup and then
Yeah,
were
we
you
went
transferred
back
back
to
to the
England.
base? Okay.
Got ready for the Holland
You
Invasion.
know, it was just a matter of weeks before the next campaign, right?
Well, Holland campaign was in September, so it was a few months.
So did you get a chance to prepare and recover
Yeah,
and
we got
do
recruits
some more
in.
training and just
We got a lot of recruits in, had to train them.
because you were working again with the British assault for the southeast Netherlands, so the market garden was obviously the main thing was to get to the Rhine bridges. So that was. So how did you simulate that type of training? Because in in the past, like you said, for Normandy, you were actually going out in the channel and doing those kind of operations. So what did they do to prepare for Market Garden?
Nothing,
Nothing different?
nothing different.
Okay. And I understand that for this particular campaign, you had some experience and you were positioned as a co-pilot.
Yes, I was co-pilot because I worked at the bomber plant.
So you had an aviation background, okay. So what, again, these gliders, these CG-4As, what were they constructed of?
A CG-4A was an aircraft frame, aluminum tubular frame with plastic stretched over it.
Oh, so it was metal frame
Yeah,
with like fabric or
Which,
material or...
which is an aircraft frame has been tested through the years,
Yeah.
and we'd have less injuries with an aircraft frame than you would with plywood.
So, so how are all these materials and troops loaded onto these gliders? I mean, they didn't go through a side door. How did they load them?
How was it?
How did you load all this equipment onto a glider?
Well, we had, they give us a sheet of paper with all the different weights on, and we wasn't supposed to have only so much weight with our glider, but most gliders was overweight.
Follow the...
I mean, to get the
weight
equipment you
limit.
had to have when you got there, you had to
Yeah, yeah.
overload.
Yeah, they just, you
And
didn't want to leave gas behind or ammunition or something like that, so, or people.
the one thing, you carried as much food as you could carry with your pockets.
Because you weren't sure when you'd be replenished. Or
And,
yeah.
because your food and ammunition had to be brought into you and dropped into you, and half the time it was dropped to the Germans. So, and when you go 3-4 days without eating anything, you really feel rotten.
Yeah, not in a fighting mood, I guess.
You know.
So did these gliders have like a hinged nose or something that you could,
Ours did, yes.
or was it like a ramp or something like the, to get these big trucks or big...
The front end raised up. It took 2 or 3 guys to raise it, but it would raise up and lock.
Yeah.
And if you had a Jeep, you hooked a thing onto the Jeep hitch, and when you landed and the glider stopped, you just start the Jeep up and drive out, and that raised the hood, and all you had to do is unhook it then after it locked.
Oh, okay.
But some guys would go out so fast they would damage something, and the damn thing would come down and kill the driver in the Jeep.
Oh my gosh. Oh, the hinge nose of the plane would
They'd
hit.
go up so damn fast with it that it'd break something, and
It wouldn't lock in.
it wouldn't lock, and it'd come down and practically, well, it wouldn't cut you clear in two, but it would enough so it'd kill you.
So with these dozens and dozens of gliders being towed over there and going into the landing zones, I mean, they were kind of expendable, weren't they? Did they just leave them there, or did they actually destroy them so they couldn't be used?
The Germans would like to burn them up.
Oh, for firewood or for or whatever, yeah.
Of course, they would shell the heck out of you, and we'd like to see them get destroyed too, because a lot of them was damaged, and who's going to fix them so you can fly them again?
Yeah, there wasn't really any process to reclaim them, and how would you ever get them back? And
in fact, we shipped gliders to England, and the English put them together, and I didn't like that either. Because what they know about a glider?
Well, they built their own gliders, but you mean the CG-4As were shipped in pieces?
They were shipped
Or
over
the
in
raw
pieces.
materials and okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's probably more efficient to put them on a ship like that and not assemble it because they take up so much room.
You know, in St. Louis, the mayor and several of his men on the council, I don't know how many, they to sell bonds and stuff, they was going to have a glider ride. So their wives went out to the field, and the women was really mad because they didn't get asked to have a glider ride. Well, they took off, and they went up in the air, and they got over the field, and the damn wing come off, and down they come, killed them all.
Oh my gosh, that's tragic. Oh gosh. Well, I guess they ended that. Huh?
If I'd have knew anything at all about gliders, I'd have never come close to them.
if you knew then what you know now.
Yeah. We had undertakers making some of glider parts.
Good for their business. Okay, for the 319th, the target area for market guard, what was that? What were your objectives for market guard and for your particular battalion?
Well, we was
Was it on the
Our
German
own-
border, or did you have a particular?
our own infantry would give us the targets, and
Okay.
the men that we had forward observers, our officers. We had wire laid from the gun section to the
Switchboard.
switchboard, and then we had wires from the switchboard to the front lines where our officers were. Our officers would relay it back to the switchboard, and the switchboard would relay it to the gun section.
But do you remember the name of the area that, did you land near Gross Peak? Do we know
Yes.
that? Was that the
in
target?
Holland.
Yeah. That was it, that was where your landing zones were,
Yes.
in Gross Peak?
And
And
right-
how far from the German border, do you remember how far that was?
Just a few hundred feet,
Okay.
because the headquarters, a lot of headquarters gliders went over the line, and they was captured.
Yeah.
Some of them fought their way back, but the headquarters wasn't really a fighting group. It was more pencil pushers.
So in this campaign, did you have the more powerful 105 millimeter howitzers, these stub-nose howitzers?
320th did,
Oh, your other, but not your unit?
but not
You-
ours.
You still had the
we
pack
had
howitzers?
75s all during the war,
Oh my gosh.
and they're very effective if you're used right, but you're closer to the front lines.
Okay. Now, was part of your mission to attack one of the Rhine bridges?
Pardon?
Was one of your missions to attack one of the Rhine bridges, like German positions by the Nijmegen Bridge?
Yes, the one in Holland. Our objective was one of the Rhine bridges on the Wall Canal.
Nijmegen.
Nijmegen. Yeah, that's the name I was trying to remember. Yeah. So was it? How successful was that bridge captured?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
It was captured, and then by the time we was getting ready to leave Holland, there was a railroad gun about 20 miles up in front of us would fire at us night and morning. And you'd hear this 2,500-pound projectile going over you. It'd sound like a freight train up there.
Jeez.
But they was 20 miles out in front. They'd fire in the morning over here, and then at night they'd be over here. I don't know how long it takes to set up a railroad gun that size,
well,
but
it was a railgun, yeah.
several hours.
Yeah.
But they'd in the morning.
But they had the range of like a battleship or one of those guns, 60-inch guns.
I don't know whether our Air Corps ever found it or not, but
Oh, I imagine they did eventually, but maybe that day.
we. The reason they didn't know just exactly where we was, but they knew where the bridge was. And they hit the bridge. They knocked a big hole in it, but some group made a wood platform up over the hole, and we kept right on using it.
Okay. For supplies and troops and
Yeah.
equipment and so forth. Okay. Now you mentioned one time that you didn't just get shot at when you got to your landing zones, but also just the trip over the channel. The Germans had something there that
They had. We didn't think we'd get any flak over the channel and all,
yeah.
but they had barges out there with artillery pieces on them, and we got flak practically all the way.
So some of the units obviously were
But
casualties over the channel, didn't make it to the landing.
I never seen them. I never saw them hit a glider
No.
or a tow plane even.
Oh, okay.
You get shrapnel through it, because the thing. You hear that go through the plastic, and
Yeah.
and
That's pretty forgiving then. That kind of it didn't shake up the whole ship because it just went right through it.
several guys got injured from shrapnel, but I never actually saw them. I still can't figure out how come they could only shoot at us coming and going, because when they got right over them, we wasn't. All that stuff's got to come down, so they wouldn't shoot at us when we was right over, smack over the top of them. But coming and going, they'd shoot at you. And
So for these trips over to Holland, what kind of air cover did the
going into
British-
Holland, we had a lot of P-51s, which was a new plane at the time, and boy, they really done a good job.
Oh, P-51s? Oh, okay.
And when we first took off, you don't want any planes up there with you, because the more you stir that air up, the rougher the ride you get. You wouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, that tow rope's 300 foot long. It's nylon. It'll stretch 3/4 its length before it'll break. And
So after the Market Garden campaign, how long until you actually returned to France? And you go back to France and
we went
get
back
stationed
to
there?
France and was there just a few days, and the Bulge broke out. So it was
Battle of
in
the Bulge.
December.
Boy, you didn't get much rest.
We
Normandy or Market Garden, and then
we didn't even have our winter clothes when we went into the Bulge. We had summer clothes on.
okay, for a winter campaign,
Yeah,
because that was in December, right?
yeah.
Or close to December.
16th of December.
Oh, December. Okay. So how how cold did it get in Bastogne?
I don't know about Bastogne, but where we was, we rode the open semi all night in the snow and rain
Oh gosh.
with an army overcoat on, and when they dumped us off, and they said, dig you a slip trench because you're going to need it. They said the Germans were about an hour away. So I dug a slip trench, and I couldn't get in it with the overcoat because it was froze.
All the moisture that
I
you
had to take the
collected
overcoat
by
off to
being
get in it. And when I took the overcoat off, I was in summer clothes. And I was so damn cold that I could talk, but you couldn't understand me. My chin was going like that. And
So for the Battle of the Bulge, what were your duties in this campaign? Were you still with the 319th A Battery gun
Yes.
section, or
yes,
okay?
I was with 319th all the time I was in.
Didn't you do some work as a field wireman too?
Yes.
So what was that? What was that like? What did you actually do as a field wireman?
Well, you got a roll of wire about this big around.
Mhm.
One's copper and one's steel. And that's what you lay to the gun sections and go up to the front lines with.
Oh, like you just described a minute ago in Market Garden.
And
that type
when
of-
tanks or
So the command people have, or the front lines have views back to the gun crews.
Yeah.
Okay.
when you have tanks or artillery, a lot of artillery fire, where the line gets busted and then you got to go out and repair it. Well, the Germans used to cut the wire and then they'd wait for you to come fix it, and then they'd
Because
get
they know
you.
where it's broken.
They want the prisoner.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, obviously the Battle of the Bulge was just a harrowing wintertime campaign, and were there pretty heavy casualties there? What are?
Yes, we was in there with about 600,000 or 800,000, and so was the Germans.
Yeah. But because you were spread out over such a large territory, I mean, you
Largest
had-
land battle the United States ever had.
yeah. So it was really hard. I mean, gasoline, food supplies, ammunition. I mean, all those things started
Yeah.
to shorten up, right? So those were the conditions your section was in.
Yes.
So how did they deal with that?
Everything had to be brought into us and dropped, and half the time it was dropped to the Germans. I don't understand
Oh,
how they spotted us or where we was, or I don't know how the communication between.
well, I mean, weren't you guys keep advancing or moving? So you weren't really stationary either, right?
No.
That was part of the problem.
Yeah. They didn't know. When we left to go into Holland, they let us sit there on the airport for an hour because it was foggy in Holland.
Hmm.
We didn't know why they wasn't going.
All right, so-
It was all had all your equipment on, you know, and you got a lot of equipment. And we sat there and sat there and sat there. And I said, "What the hell's going on?" And finally, some officer come each glider, and he said, "The reason of the wait," he says, "it's foggy in Holland where we're going, and we couldn't land. And we couldn't see the land, you know."
Right.
So, but the average guy, they don't figure he needs to know anything, so they don't tell you.
Probably didn't have time to tell you. Now, the 82nd was a pretty well recognized
Very much.
unit, even by the enemy. So
Yes.
I've heard stories about the 82nd guys removing their patches, so the Germans
Yeah.
wouldn't really know
Yeah.
that they were up against the 82nd. Is that
They-
true?
They knew as soon as you started fighting.
But
Because,
yeah, but not before, because they couldn't
No.
identify people they have captured. They had their patches.
yeah,
on, right?
and we had to pull our patches off several times.
Oh, so you were ordered to?
Huh?
You were ordered to?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Now, weren't you interacting also with some infantry paratroop groups too? Was that part?
Yes.
Okay. And in recapturing territory that was lost, so how did that work with the gun unit, the infantry, and the paratroopers?
Well,
How was that coordinated?
the paratroopers, they got all the glory because we would fight for them damn boots, believe it or not.
Yeah.
We had a deal in England where we killed a lot of our own people just over them damn boots.
Okay.
Rear echelon people were stealing them, and the word got around. They said, "We want everyone on pass tonight. We're going into town." And went in about. I think the number I heard, I don't know whether it's true or not, but the number I heard, there was 41 of our own people killed
Oh my gosh.
just over them damn boots.
So as you're going through the Bulge, and is the main target this to penetrate the west wall, the Siegfried line? Was that really part of your unit's target also?
Yes.
Is the get through the Siegfried line
Yeah.
to
Well,
the German defenses?
the Siegfried line was tough going. They had
Yeah.
pillboxes.
Yeah.
There
Well,
was,
it's kind of a last stand kind of thing, wasn't it?
yeah.
The west wall. Yeah.
Yeah, what happens is they set it up so that a lot of the time you'd be in a crossfire, so they'd be firing this way and this way, and
Yeah.
and but they was real comfortable in them damn pillboxes. They had heat and they was out
Oh,
of the
they
weather.
really dug in there. Yeah. Yeah. They meant to stay.
France had the Maginot Line, you know, but the Germans
World
went
War
around
I.
it.
Yeah. World War One. Yeah. So was your final sweep across the Rhine at Cologne? Was that where your unit passed?
We went across the Elbe River.
The Elbe River. Okay.
And that's where the war ended for us.
And that was around April of '45.
Yes, I believe it was the 7th was what we decided the war ended, 7th of April.
Okay. Now you were wounded. You did have a shrapnel wound, right? Is that true?
I got hit in Holland,
Oh, in the market garden campaign.
but
Did the paperwork go through for that? For the purple
I
heart?
never. I'll tell you that I got hit in the hind end.
Mhm.
I got tired of sleeping in a wet, watery hole, and when we went into Holland, we stopped 3 trains trying to get out of Nijmegen. One was a ammunition train, one was a passenger train, and one was loaded with canned beef that they'd killed all the Holland cows and canned them.
Oh.
And we ended up eating it because I wasn't getting food dropped into us.
Right.
And one of the cars had ammunition. One car was loaded with corrugated cardboard, about the size of plywood sheets, you know.
Yeah.
And I spied that. I said, we got a shack where we got our switchboard in, you know, and we had a little stove about that big around in it, which was the only place we could get warm. And I said, I'm sleeping in that corner of that damn shack tonight. Well, I carried back probably 6-8 inches of that corrugated cardboard back sheets, dragged it back and put it in that shack, and I said, I'm sleeping here tonight. Well, about 2 o'clock in the morning, they started shelling us, and I got nailed right in the rear end.
That's what happened.
And the medic dressed it, but everyone else was asleep.
Oh, okay.
And
So only the medic was awake.
he put a tag in my buttonhole, and he said, tomorrow when you get that redressed, he said, hand that tag to him. Well, I threw the damn tag away,
Oh, I see.
so I didn't get my Purple Heart. Well, it didn't bother me, but when I got ready to come home, you had to have something like 62 points
The
to come
points.
home.
And
that was worth five points, and I lacked 3 or 4 points of making 62, so I had to stay over another month and miss Christmas here
Yeah.
because I didn't have enough points. Plus they was having a dock strike in New York,
Oh,
and the dock workers wouldn't load or unload ships, so we couldn't come home.
wow.
And I'll tell you one thing: if they had if we had to come home as a division, we'd have started a damn war with the dock strikers. And I know that for a fact.
The next enemy, the next line.
So I'm not a union man.
Okay, I could kind of tell from the vehicle outside there. Anyway, getting back to Germany. Now you're in Germany. You've crossed over the Rhine. So your formative movement was towards Ludwigslust, Germany. Is that, who did you meet in that area?
Well, your commanders wanted to take Berlin.
Oh, yeah.
Every damn commander wanted to take Berlin. And we were scheduled to drop into Berlin, but it was called off. They were scheduled. We were scheduled, I don't know how many times for different things, and one time going across the Rhine, we were scheduled for that, and that was dropped. But they finally did put it on, but our division didn't have to do it.
I see.
And I don't know. A lot of times the ground troops moved too fast, and that's why it was called off.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases.
So where did you
But-
meet at Ludwigslust?
Ludwigslust, we run into this concentration camp.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and
Is that Wobbling? Wobbling?
Wobeline, yes.
Wobeline.
I don't know how you pronounce it,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Ludwigslust, I go by.
So the concentration camp was right outside this
Yeah.
town, this German town? Okay.
And
So it was still, prisoners were still in the camp?
yes, we was ordered. Everyone in the outfit was ordered to go through that camp and see it.
Okay.
Eisenhower wanted it that way, and so did our general.
General Gavin?
Yes. But it was a terrible thing to see, because I couldn't believe that men could be that thin and still be alive.
Yeah.
And we couldn't give them food because 800 of them had to be fed through the veins.
Oh, okay.
We had to send them to the hospital because they couldn't eat. They'd kill them. They said it'll kill them if you give them any food, so don't give them any food. But that was a dirty, nasty place.
So how many prisoners were in that camp?
Oh, I don't know how many, but
Like 800 or something? Oh,
oh,
huge.
they were
More than, oh.
thousands.
Thousands, okay.
What did happen is our chaplain went around and got the town people to dig a hole right down the center of town, and he had a burial for all of them. And we went into town, we rounded up every man, woman, and child, made them march around there and look down in and see all the dead people. They claimed that they didn't know that was a concentration camp. Hell, you could smell it if you got within 5 miles of it.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yep. What condition?
But
Jeez.
them people will know what happened now, because we marched them around while he was giving his address.
Oh.
And they had to look down and see all these dead people.
Wow.
And they had to go dig them out of a pit. They was just thrown in there like cordwood. Arms and legs sticking up every day.
Oh, wow. What a way for the war to end, to have sites like that. Yeah. So then you moved on to the Berlin occupation. I think that was in May, right?
Yes.
So you had to co-locate there with some of the Russian units in the various sectors.
Well, the Russian people, I can't say a damn thing good about the Russian people.
You mean the army? The Red Army?
Yeah. The only reason they done what they did is running their people right into machine gun fire.
Oh, yeah,
and getting mowed down, because Stalin they still finding pits today where he's killed his own people.
Yeah.
They're a no good race on this earth, believe me.
So, but it was still tough to make a peace with this as your ally, I guess.
Yeah.
In the occupation. So, I understand that you were able to get to the Reichstag Chancellery.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Well, I was sergeant of the guard that day, and one of my guards come in, and he said, "There's a woman out the gate that she says if we'll give her something to eat, she'll take us around and show us Berlin." Well, I don't know whether you've ever gone to a city you wanted to see, but on your own, you don't know where anything's at.
Right, right.
And I said, well, that's a good deal. I want to see it. And I said, I think I can dig up enough guys to see it. So I went out and got her, and I took her to the mess hall, and I told the mess hall, I said, give her all she wants to eat. And he fed her good. And then we got a weapons carrier, which is a small pickup. And she took us down to the 1936, where Hitler had the 1936 World Olympics.
Yes.
I climbed up the high diving board, and they took my picture up there. But that's where Jesse Owens ran against Hitler's Supermen and beat the heck out of
Master
him.
race, yeah. And got a gold medal. So back to the Reichstag. This is on your tour.
Yeah. Well, I took several pictures, and all I had a knife with me that day was a little bitty pen knife, a gold-plated pen knife. And I looked down the floor, and here's a marble floor. Marble square is about that square. And then on the outside of that, they was maroon colored, and on the outside was one row of gold-colored marble around that maroon
Mosaic.
and I dug up a few pieces.
Yep.
And I said, Hitler walked over that. I said, I've got a good souvenir now. And I didn't know whether I'd ever get home with them, but I wished I'd have dug up some more, because it's gone now. The Russians destroyed it all.
So did you go into Hitler's office?
Yeah. And that's a funny feeling too. I mean, we'd been through a lot, but it still was a funny feeling.
Yeah.
I'd saw movies, you know, where they were, they thought they were.
The propaganda stuff. Yeah.
And it was just a funny feeling. But
So did he have a desk to fit his ego?
well, a lot of it had been looted.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But,
Other people had been here before you.
in fact, I read a story, probably a year ago, that a guy, I don't remember what magazine it was even in now, but he went through Hitler's office, and he found a shovel that Hitler used in World War I.
Oh, yeah.
It was AH carved on the handle.
Yeah.
And I said, boy, I sure wish I could have found that.
So you did collect some Nazi paraphernalia
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I got.
I think you've got
Armbands.
there's this room here, and with the other videos, we'll pick up there.
I wanted a good flag, but I got a flag, but it's not a very good one.
What are your favorite items that you were able to collect?
Oh, I collected these armbands,
Oh, okay.
because you used to see them in movies,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, the swastikas, yeah. Okay. Okay. So how did you return home after obviously the war's over and you were in the Berlin occupation and you're waiting for, you had to wait.
Yeah.
You had a chance. So how did you return home?
Well, they set up what they called cigarette camps, Lucky Strike and Camel. You was sent to a certain cigarette camp,
Like a holding area.
waiting for a ship.
Yeah.
And,
I was in Germany, or were you back to France?
France.
Oh, okay.
And
So you finally got a ship.
finally got a ship. And,
What was that name? What was the name of that ship?
Pittston Victory.
The Victory ship. Yeah. It's full of troops, I suppose.
And we got on that thing, and well, I don't know how far, but when we got out to sea, there was waves at least 100 foot high.
Going over the bow, I guess. Huh?
And yeah, and I thought, how do you travel in water this rough? And I run into the captain, and I said, Captain, can I speak to you a second? And I said, what's going on here anyway? And he said, well, we're in a, whether you know it or not, he said, we're in a late season hurricane. And he says, I've been on this sea for 40 years, and that's the worst one I've ever been in.
Wow.
I said, boy, I'm sure glad to hear that. Well, the next morning we had coffee that tasted like salt water, you know. So they got to checking, and they found out the chip was breaking in half. And got into our drinking water.
And you're still not even half across the Atlantic yet?
And we went up on deck, about 4 or 5 of us, and the guns had been removed from the deck already, and just the foundation of the work was there, and we was standing back of that because spray was coming over the bow, and that spray would hit you. You was soaking wet, just like you'd fell in, because it'd drive it right through to your skin.
Wow.
And we stood there back of that and watched. Probably people would come up on deck and look and see us, and then they'd go to the rail. Well, they didn't stand there 5 minutes and they were soaking wet. and we would stand there and laugh at them. We thought it was funny, see so many people getting wet. But I finally said, fellas, I said, I'm going down to the bunk. I said, the law of averages is going to catch up with us before long.
Yeah.
And
a bigger wave than the last one.
we walked away from that bulkhead and probably 15 or 20 feet, and all at once someone said, look out. And I turned around, and here's a wall of water coming over the deck about 4 or 5 feet high.
Wow.
And it just shoved you, Well, I don't know exactly, but either 3 or 5 men went overboard.
Oh boy.
And
how would you ever rescue them? Yeah.
you couldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't even see them
The
probably.
captain says we can't stop for him. He said they'll tip the ship over.
Oh, you mean, yeah, you can't go about, yeah.
So they survived the war, but they never made it home.
Oh gosh, that's a shame. So I assume the hurricane died down and you eventually you
It
were
didn't die
receiving.
down. We had it all the way to New York.
Oh my gosh. So what was the reception like in the U.S. in New York Harbor?
Beautiful. I'll never forget it.
I mean,
We come by the Statue of Liberty,
right in New York Harbor.
and
Wow.
that was a good feeling because
Yep.
you're close to home.
Yep.
And then there was a ship coming, and someone says, what's that ship doing coming at us? And it was Doris Day on deck with a full-blown band, and she
Okay.
sang. She says, here comes my boys.
Oh, okay.
And I'll
Well,
never forget that day.
boy, that was
She was-
finally your reward after what you've been through.
She was a very good singer anyway.
Yeah, it was 1940, early in her career, I guess.
She was very nice looking too. As far
She
as
was,
that
she was a
goes.
band singer, I think, before
Well,
she got into
no.
recordings and
I don't know
movies and
which
stuff.
band she was with, but she done a lot of singing.
Tommy Dorsey, I think.
It wasn't a dry eye on deck,
Oh,
let me
yeah.
tell you.
Yeah. Where was your camera?
I didn't have it with me.
So, just reflecting back on the war there, how did you stay in touch with family back home, family and friends?
V-mail.
You did show me the box there, so I thought I'd bring that up. But
Yeah, that was one of the smartest things I think the country done.
yeah,
Because you can imagine 16 million men around the world was in the service,
yeah,
all writing home. You can imagine how many mail bags would fill that ship up.
yep,
Where here they could put, I don't know how many thousand on a reel, and when they got the States they could run that reel. But
So, how did you adjust to civilian life? How soon did you get that steak dinner?
I got it the first night we
First
got
night,
it,
huh.
and damn near killed me because I got it eaten, and the mess sergeant says, we've got more steak, anyone wants seconds, come get it. And I said, by God, I can eat another one. Well, I eat it, but I thought I was going to die. Boy, for about 2 hours I was short of breath, and I never.
What a way to die!
I've never been so full in my life, and I haven't eaten that much since either.
Well, let's see. You had a steak in Detroit when you were heading to Fort Bragg, and then you had a.
Hey,
Well, what a what a way to remember the army.
What are you complaining for?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
that was good. That's a, coming back to the States is a day I'll remember all my life unless I go goofy or something. But
So when you got back, did you reacquaint with old friends and girlfriends and old veterans? And
well,
what happened when you got back?
I'd been going with a girl and I left my car with her,
Oh,
and we through letters I said I ain't gonna do a thing for a month, but then I said I'll find a job or something, and 5 weeks later I was married. Then I had to find a job.
yep, they kind of go together. Yep. You know, I came across that book, Silent Wings, Savage Death, which was published by the DGs
Yeah.
about the 319th in World War II. So I think it covered D-Day and the Market Garden. So Any comments about the book?
Uh,
I think we got that on the previous video, but yeah, there it is. Why don't you just put it up to the camera?
Hold it up so they can.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a book about the 319th. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
Uh,
So were there any Sebring contributions to this book?
yeah, they got me in it.
Okay, that's good.
That's the other one.
Yeah. So when did the book actually come out? Do you remember?
Which one?
This one, Silent Wings. Remember when it was published? I should have looked that up.
2007,
Oh, okay, so,
first printing.
so, are you a member of any veterans organizations?
American Legion.
Oh, is that close by here? The one
Yeah.
in Tecumseh?
Yeah.
Oh, the Post 34?
Pardon?
Post 34?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, what have you been doing since military service?
Well, I went to work with products here. They were a compressor plant, and I was in advanced engineering. And my supervisor, he says they make so and so president of this company. He said that's my last day. Well, they done that, and he walked out. He went to Sunstrand and drew up a compressor and talked them into going into the compressor business, and he gave me a call one day and he said, I need someone to set up an engineering lab and do the testing. He said, you interested? And I said, that depends on the money. They gave me a lot more money than I was making, so I took off. They moved me to Rockford, Illinois. We was up there a year or two, and then they built the plant in Bristol, Virginia. And they
Oh,
moved me down there.
so they're really
So
expanding.
I was down there 40 years.
Oh, you spent most of your career there in Virginia then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then when did you retire from that work?
89,
7.
87, 1987.
Then did you relocate back here, or?
No, I bought a lot of woodworking equipment, and I done woodworking just to have something to do.
Oh, okay.
And August the 4th, I lost a wife, and Greg and my daughter wanted me back in Michigan because it's a long trip down to Virginia, and so I'm back in Michigan.
Well, you've spent a long time collecting things. So when did you put this room together?
He put it together. They had 2 shilling pieces that, and they had a lot of silver in them. You take them and tap them on iron, metal rolled both ways, and you got that.
Yeah, it's in the cabinet over there. It's looks like a wedding
The
band.
reason I was in the Airborne was if I'd had the education, I'd have been in the fighter pilot.
Yes.
That's what I wanted.
Okay.
But I didn't have the education for it. You had to have at least 2 years of college to even apply. So the gliders was air. When they said airborne, I thought, well, that's part of it, but that wasn't what I wanted.
Well, in doing some of the research for the interview, I was assisted, but did come across the 319th Glider Field Artillery Battalion's Facebook page, and I did see a little 5-minute clip there that Channel 11 Toledo did. So, what brought about that?
I don't have any idea.
Who arranged for that? I mean,
Well, it all started from he was on the front page of the local newspaper.
oh, I see.
And the reporter for that paper lived in Ohio.
Yeah.
And I think she knew someone in the TV station.
Okay.
And they contacted me and they wanted to do a little bit. Because it
Okay.
was close to the 70th anniversary of the Battle of the Bulge.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
That's what prompted it all. So
Yeah. It was,
they came up and set up right here where we're at and
Yep. Yep.
did a little ditty.
Okay. Well, Mahlon, is there anything else you feel we haven't discussed, or it should be added to your interview?
I can't think of anything.
Mahlon, when you were in England, before you got into the Airborne, what was going on that led to you being assigned to the 82nd Airborne?
Well, they were running us all over England in a truck, and I don't know whether they knew where they wanted us or not, but we was in the barracks, and a guy come in with a clipboard, and he said, "Anyone want to join the Airborne?" I said, "Yeah." Anything to get, because I didn't know where it was going to end up the way it was going. And when he said Airborne, I had no idea what he was talking about or anything, because I didn't know what Airborne was yet. I had never heard about that much of it.
Sounded good though, didn't it?
But I signed up, and next day I was en route to the 82nd.
Okay.
What was the mess hall incident that led up to that, though?
Well, I don't eat fat meat, and when we come out of the mess hall, there'd be an officer at the garbage can, and if you had anything on your plate you hadn't eat, he'd make you go sit down and eat it. And I said, "I don't eat fat meat. That's fat, and I don't eat it." And he says, "You better go sit down and eat it." I throwed it in the damn garbage can, and I thought, "The hell with you." I knew I was in trouble as soon as I'd done it, but I wanted to get out of there and get away, and so Airborne was, here I come.
So you kind of fell into the Airborne. It's a desperation.
But I understand why the guy was there. You know, we had to ship food over to England. We've got 16 million men in the service around the world.
Right.
They eat 3 times a day, most of them, and they don't want you wasting food.
Mm-hmm.
But that fat piece was probably as big as my fist. I wasn't about to eat it.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Well, it looks like the Airborne really has stuck with you. I can see the insignia on your shirt there. So you're still wearing those coat of arms proudly. So, okay.
Well, 82nd's
Yeah.
One awful good division, I'll tell you that. It's a proud division. It's we paid a high price. We lost over 6,000 men.
Yeah. Yeah.
We paid a dear price for what we done, but we always took our objective.
Yeah, I think the contributions are very noteworthy through the way history has portrayed it. So I think you're right. It's a proud unit to be having been a part of. So okay.
And we was cocky as all get out.
That's part of it.
Say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
We knew we was good, and we wanted everyone else to know.
And you were always stirred up for the next campaign, so that helped to have that attitude.
And anytime you go into town, if one of our men was in trouble, he had 20 guys back of him.
Yep.
just as fast as they could be there.
Okay. So, anything else you want to add?
Not that I know of.
Okay. Well, on behalf of the Yankee Air Museum's Oral History Project, I want to thank you for allowing me to come into your home and conduct this interview and listening to your story. Thank you very much.
See old Uncle Sam there in the corner?
Beg your pardon? Oh.
I made 18 of them.
Oh. Yeah, I got him on camera now.
General Shelton bought 2 of them. Film for it.
Okay.
This was the first aid kit that was strapped to the back of his seat and going into Holland.
Yeah.
When he was co-pilot.
Yeah.
Before he got out of the glider, he tore it off the back of the seat and kept it.
Oh, that was good thinking.
Well, there was more bandages in that than the little one that you had on your belt, you know.
Uh-huh. Oh, Boy, what remembrances, gosh. So there's a cap on top, and then there's another
A
cap.
couple of them.
They're all with the same insignia, or what is it?
Yeah, Paraglide.
Okay.
And them boots, I was wore one time.
Yeah, they look relatively unused.
Tell them the story, Dad.
The reason they was wore was Belgium wanted to bestow the Belgian 48 on the division, and Belgium said
This thing right there.
we need a man. We'd like to have a man.
I'm listening. Oh, well, when you keep
Oh,
that
I'm
open.
sorry.
Yeah, I was actually focusing on that. Sorry, go
And Belgium said we'd like to have a man up on stage to receive the decoration.
This weapon behind you is a
That's a
German
German
rifle?
Mauser.
Mauser, yeah.
It's,
You want to heft it?
Sure. Oh my gosh. That's got some weight to it. Probably did. It probably helped
Now
with
that-
the kick to it.
that was made in Czechoslovakia
Uh-huh.
at the Brno Arms Factory. It's just
That's a
The whole
P-38.
I've got just
Oh, yeah.
plastic papers in there now.
P-38 right on it.
Uh-huh.
And then that's the German
The ammunition.
cartridge case. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what the soldiers would wear to
Yeah.
Mauser rounds.
So these are again part of your
Yep.
war prizes from Berlin.
Yep.
Here's a German flashlight they wear on their belt.
Yeah.
And if you want green, you push that up. And if you want blue,
Oh, blue light
Signal
or green
lights.
light. Oh, okay.
red,
Maybe that's
Did you send Morse code?
well. No, that if you want to get back to your lines or something. What's the color tonight?
Oh,
Blue
okay.
or
It's just like a yeah. Oh, that's
batteries went in there. Spare bulbs.
You don't have any batteries for this?
no. Takes a flat one.
You ever hear of V-mail?
V-mail, yes.
There's a box of it right there.
Oh, yes. I've actually interviewed veterans that have talked about it, but only verbally, not visually.
So that's a
So these are actual email
Yep, these are the-
envelopes, and
unused ones that you'd
yeah,
write your message, submit
Yeah.
to your commanding officer. It'd get edited, censored,
yeah. Censored.
microfilm, sent back over to the United States, then reprinted and sent
Yeah.
on its way.
So it looks like you did use them up.
No, I bought this box.
Okay.
I paid $5 or $6 for it, I think,
I'll be darned.
just to have them.
Yeah, yeah. But weren't they free? I mean,
Yeah.
you actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we didn't have to pay postage either.
No, no, they just went back with everything else, I guess. Yeah.
They're paraglides, and it was a publication that the 82nd Airborne put out.
It's quite large, though. Yeah.
See that says on the Berlin edition.
Uh huh. And then, of course, VE Day.
Yep.
Oh, they got the 82nd. Okay, so I mentioned that. Okay.
Dad had one. I'll tell you that 21st German Army, the headlines there. The 82nd Airborne was about a 10,000 man division.
Mm-hmm.
The 21st German Army was 145,000 soldiers that surrendered to a 10,000 man division.
Oh my God. So,
And they were doing that to get away from the Russians.
yes,
Everybody was fleeing the Russians.
yes.
And you know,
The Russians were really
the
taking the
Germans had a
toll.
lot of horse-drawn equipment.
This is the overcoat that when you're going into Bastogne. Was that it?
Well, not
No,
this one. This is the brand
I
new
mean, one
one.
like this that
Just
you were
exactly
wearing
like
that
it.
got
Mine was
so
brand new
soaked
like
and then it froze, right?
Mine-
That's the local paper. What's interesting?
Oh,
is-
Adrian's just south of here, right?
What's
Yeah.
interesting is the volume number and the actual number and the date is identical to that paper. These two papers came out the same day. This one came out first,
Mhm.
and I called the Telegram to ask them about this. How come I've got two papers that are the exact same numbers, same dates, but they're a little bit different?
Yep.
And they
Well, one's
said,
an extra.
yep. That's it.
Oh.
Somebody was sitting at the teletype machine that they had.
Oh, well, it was coming in. Yeah.
You always had somebody reading, and enough developments came out
Oh,
after that
yeah.
one was printed
To
that
authorize.
they made an extra copy.
Okay, so that's what that is.
And that's where you always see the newsboys in the corner. Extra,
Yeah,
extra.
yeah,
They
yeah.
just grab kids off
That
the
was
street.
a wartime occurrence.
Sell them, you know.
Yeah. And of course, you got the Nazi radio announces.
That's just part of a headline that or paper that someone clipped out, and I thought, well, I'll frame that.
A French bayonet?
Yeah, see it?
Boy, that's gonna do some
Sticker.
damage.
It's a
Yeah.
sticker.
Boy, oh boy. Looks like something the Italians would have. Wow. Wow. So how'd you come? How did that get in your hands?
I don't know. Can't tell you really. I don't know. I don't remember where the hell I got it. But I know it's French.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they got a rifle, a LaBelle rifle, they call it, and that's
Okay.
what it went to.
So that's a shell casing up there, right? From the 75 millimeter?
Yes, that is.
From the howitzers that you used in your glider artillery?
Yes.
Okay. And that's is that one of your CGs? The
CG4A.
4A gliders up there?
Yes. Our grenade, the way they bust up, and this is
Oh yeah.
shrapnel.
Well, you sure kept a lot of stuff.
That's what you get hit with.
Yeah. My God.
And I got hit in Holland, and
That's a grenade fuse right there. These were Bibles that the
Oh, okay.
that were presented to soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
This one came from the Gideons.
Of
World War
course.
43.
They were busy back then, huh?
oh, here's the Battle of Bulge. That was all these is the outfits that was in there. We didn't know it at the time, but I'd have felt better if I'd have knew it.
If you knew all those different countries and all the different
I thought we was
associations.
in there all alone.
Yeah. It really was an allied force, wasn't it? And you got something crossing the Rhine, the
Yeah, the got stars and stripes that he brought back with him.
oh, the paper, yeah. I'll get that on the video.
When he was in Berlin, one of the things that they did for occupation duty was they had to go around and confiscate things with swastikas on them.
Yes, yes.
And that's where this
All the paraphernalia, yeah,
paraphernalia,
yeah.
buckles, and there's a flag background there, and
What is this case here with the swastika sticker?
buckles.
What are
Those
those
are different belt buckles.
from prisoners?
Soldiers, yeah. Hitler
We
used.
took them off. Any soldier that had anything on we wanted, we just took it from him.
Yeah, what's this case here? You've got a lot of your medals, insignia, patches,
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Dog tags.
dog tags. Yeah.
And here's something. That's
What?
Willow one bomber there.
Oh,
It says
okay.
Ford on it.
Okay. Yeah, I got it. Okay. And then what are these Reich images here?
These are armbands.
Oh yeah, obviously you've seen those
Yeah.
before. Yeah. Okay.
Shoulder epaulets,
Oh man, just all kinds of insignia. Yeah.
rank insignia for shoulders.
Mhm.
The black, this would be equivalent to our Purple Heart.
Oh, okay. These are
German had
these
three-
are
they had
medals?
black, silver, and gold. That all depends on the number of times you were wounded.
okay. And then this. Oh, this is the Reich Chancellery here.
Yes.
You told me about that. Back when inside the Reich Chancellery, and you carved some things out of the floor,
Yeah, marble.
marble. And so that picture,
See them there?
this picture down here, right, is you actually yourself carving that, right?
Yep.
Prying it out.
That's me there
Yep.
digging it up.
Okay. And this is the entrance or the hallway. Okay. And of course that's you there.
Right. This is our general,
Oh,
General Gavin.
Gavin. Yes. Yes. Okay. And then this is your certification to be a glider.
This is my jump wings.
Jump wings
or
that you received after the
a
fact.
Glider qualification.
Okay. And of course, here's this display case.
And there's the French Fortiget, and after the Belgian give us their Fortiget, then the French give us one, and we already had the orange lanyard from Holland. We was the
You have the original dog tags and everything?
yeah. We this Presidential Unitization should have a gold thing in the center of it because we was
Second issue for
Yeah.
the battalion, right? Yep.
and
And down here is this German captured camera.
yeah.
So what was the source of that? How did it come into your hands?
I just took it off of him.
Off one of the prisoners?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What was his name?
Huh?
What was his name?
I don't have any idea.
So you don't have a clear title of this. And then these binoculars are also war prizes with the binoculars case?
It's not the German army, then civilian.
Those are
Oh, just
but
okay.
they were on a German soldier.
And this is your cap?
Yeah, that was his basic hat.
Oh, from Fort Bragg?
Yep,
Okay,
Garrison cap.
okay.
And all the hankies down there were from different countries.
Oh yeah, yeah. How did I miss that?
London. And,
So why don't you tell me about these maps that you told me about before?
well, they're used in combat.
These
Officers,
are actually sourced from actual combat situations, right?
officers use
Used out in the
yes.
field. Yeah.
The thing about artillery, your officers have to have a lot of math because they time the sound. From the time they hear the sound,
Oh, for the
and they
artillery.
look at the map, they
The
know where we
artillery.
are, so they know that time, and they also time the flash,
Okay.
and that's how we done away with German artillery and stuff.
Okay. So what is this map of right here?
That's Holland.
So is that the Market Garden campaign?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then the one below that looks like it's Normandy.
That's southern France, the silk map.
Oh, that's okay. Tell me about the Sook map.
That is silk, so it don't make
So,
any noise when
so you
you
could unravel it or
unfold
unfold
it.
it.
It
and
doesn't-
you're not giving out your position.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can fold it up real small.
And then up here we have obviously the D-Day invasion beaches. So how did you come about to get that map? Was that issued to you or is that a souvenir?
Yeah, we can have all the maps we want.
Okay. So you got it from the battalion or from?
Yes.
Okay. And then what's the difference between the top map and the bottom map? Why did you have two different maps of the same area?
Well,
Different landmarks or
depends on the map maker, what the officers want.
Oh, okay.
What you might can pick up one and you say, well, I got to have a better map than this, and then we find a bigger area.
Okay. And then you got a Look magazine cover for Eisenhower. Was that right at the time? Was
I
that
don't
from
know
that
where
era?
Yeah, that's July of '44.
Okay, so it's right after.
Dad didn't have that. That's one I acquired from my aunt.
Yeah, but it's obviously
period.
it fits into that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking about this book, Dad.
There's
Oh,
Hitler's
that's
book.
Hitler. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can see it by the insignia. Oh my gosh, the old guy himself.
Mein Kampf.
So
Butter.
you check that out of the library over there.